see. All right. So I love these quizzes because it can find out the down and dirty about everyone and what you want to hear about and kind of your expectations about the next hour and a half. So first of all, there are 20 couples that signed up for this. So there must be a need for it. And I know from our experience, we have learned that there's a need for this information that we're going to share. But we have 8 couples that have been married 10 years or more. We have 5 couples that have been married 1 to 5 years. 4 couples that have been married 5 to 10 years. 2 that are engaged. Can we give them some like snaps or something? Because I wish I would have known all this stuff before we got married and took the initiative to learn this stuff. And then there's 1 couple in partnership. There were 4 people that said, I will be there, but my husband will not. And some expressed the concern, like, does your husband have to be here? No, your partner does not have to be here. And I want to go ahead and share a little bit about my experience in that I was kind of leading the emotional charge there for a while before Steve was on board. So he was not jumping in with both feet. Like, yeah, let's do the couples classes and learn how to talk to each other. So if you're that partner in the relationship that feels like you're trying to like lead the charge in this personal growth, emotional growth, all of these things, just remember there's always more to learn and take care of yourself that can then be connected with your partner in this experience. So props to you for being here. And you can always share the link. I'm going to share it with you afterwards, and you can share it and watch it with your partner or send it to them. And maybe they'll watch it, maybe they won't, but I think you'll still get some valuable tips and information from this experience. So, okay. All right, let's all take a deep breath. I think most of us are here. There's several people that said they're going to watch later. So let's just go ahead and take a moment.
It looks pretty new because it's gently used.
We should put on there and use.
They don't want to. They don't want it to be.
Anna. Okay, Anna and Paul. Okay. Hi, Anna and Paul. That's so funny. We've got Colorado here. We've got some people in Tennessee.
Hi.
Hi.
We're getting it together. We'll be right here. I promise.
Okay. No worries. No worries.
All good.
All right. So it is the end of the week. You've had most likely been around a lot of energies, had a lot of responsibilities. So just take a moment to take a deep breath in through the nose, filling up the belly. Don't close your eyes, Brittany, if you're driving. And exhale. When you breathe in through the nose, it filters the air so the brain gets the oxygen that it needs in the body as well. And it just kind of helps the nervous system. So just take a few deep breaths. Maybe set an intention for this evening and what you're hoping to hear, what you're hoping to bring to the conversation. A lot of you had some great things that you shared that were your superpower. So we can talk about that. Whenever you're ready, just hop back in. Engaged. Yay. Congratulations, Dakota. I saw all of those pictures. Those were fantastic. Well, I know my intention tonight is to share with you all the things that we have learned to make this holiday season the most enjoyable, fulfilled, loving, satisfying. Yeah. What else?
Just enjoyable and relaxing. I mean, it's the holidays. It shouldn't be crazy. It should be relaxing and time with family, even if you're all not on the same page. You should be able to kind of have your own container of space when you're with your families.
Sending love, even when it's difficult, and it doesn't have to look like it's looked like in the past, because the world has kind of changed it for you. So you can start new traditions. There's nothing that says you have to do everything the same every single year. And just you being here, trying to figure out what your values are as a couple and what your intention is for the season is going to get you started off right. So I'm going to share my screen. We've got a fun little slideshow for you. Let's see. Did we have somebody else coming in here? Oh, we did. Okay. So when you see present, share. Oh, yeah. Okay, not the technical savvy
All
person.
good. What going on? Here you go.
Thank you. Okay, so full disclosure, this picture was from 15 years ago when we were still riding off the chemistry of getting married, but it just fits so perfectly that, it looks like a Hallmark holiday movie. But this is a time where we had maybe a 5-year-old,
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4-year-old, and things were good. We kind of had that like fairy tale early 2000s, met at a white trash bash party. He had a mullet wig on. I had my hair teased and a fake black eye.
Costume
And-
party. Yeah.
Yeah, costume party.
After Halloween, around this time, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was after Halloween. Oh, it was November 21st.
On the 21st.
And it just was like chemistry. So fast and furious. And then, as life happened, we had big things happen. Like we had kids, we moved across country, and every single holiday seemed to bring up like a charge. And we both would turn into kind of different people, like there are sides that of yourself that your family brings up. And it's usually some things that you can kind of look through and, do I still need to have this pattern of behavior? Do I still need to respond to this person in this way? So we were laughing so hard at this next picture. So this is 2019. And this is like, even though I'm sitting in his lap, this is like super disconnected. This is where like a day after my mom or my mother-in-law found me crying in the guest bedroom and just saying, marriage is so hard. And we spent way too much money. We had to drive to Arkansas
To my parents.
to his parents.
Yeah.
We just like packed our shit and went, didn't really talk about what it looked like when we got there. But I was expecting a lot of things that I didn't, verbalize very clearly. And I ended up like going for a hike by myself. It was just kind of a disaster. We had a sick kid.
ER trip.
And it was,
It was a mess.
yeah, it was a mess. So we don't want that to happen to you all. So we're going to help talk about the things that can support you through this time. And can anyone relate though? Can you all relate? Yeah. Where January 1 rolls around and you're like, what just happened? I felt horrible, like physically, I didn't feel good. I drank a lot more because that was like a coping skill that I had at the time. And so last year, for Thanksgiving, we had a very intentional conversation about what it was going to look like when we were driving up to New York to spend time with my grandfather who was about to pass. And we talked about the big energies that were in the room and how we could support each other. And so we'll kind of lay that out for you. But that was where that initial, like after that happened, after that holiday was over, I was like, thank you so much. Like I was so grateful for all the support he had, because it could have been very emotional and I could have turned to unhealthy coping skills, but we pre-gamed and it all played out like we had hoped.
Yep.
So
Went really well.
all right, next. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now this is something that, let's see, Cassie and all of our friends, we have a couples group that we meet with, and the facilitators talk about the 4 agreements. And this is something that I love and I use in the retreats and the coaching that I do. It just kind of sets the stage for anything that you do in life. It's a book written by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it is just the 4 agreements in life. If you look at each of these things, like don't take things personally, knowing that whatever somebody does is not about you. And number 2, if you assume, the only thing you can assume is that people are doing their best. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. So don't assume anything else. The 3rd thing is honoring your word. When you say something, you're going to do it. When you say something, write it down. Remember that you do it, because the more you start to forget things, the more others don't trust you, and then you don't trust yourself either. And in a partnership, you are, I mean, that is even more imperative that you honor your word, especially during the holidays. So when I learned about honor your word, I was kind of flighty before. I probably have ADHD that's not diagnosed. I'm kind of weeding through all that right now. But there were a lot of things that I would tell Steve that I was going to do. And he'd be like, "Oh, I thought you said you were going to do that." And it would slip my mind. It wasn't intentional. It just completely slipped my mind. So now I write things down in my phone. I put it in my phone. So I'll say, "Hold on, let me put that in my phone." And my kids will do the same thing. I had my son that for a while wanted to go mountain biking. "You keep saying you're going to take me. You keep saying you're going to take me." And I said, "You know what? Put it in my phone." So if there's something that your kid wants, if they need a ride, and I know some people don't have kids on here, but just, this can kind of have a ripple effect with your planning for the season as well.
And it goes both ways. I mean, everything she just said, I'm practicing or trying to practice being mindful of, because I've got my own interests. I've got my own things that I want to do, that may not be on the priority list of her, but because it's important to her and it's important to me, if I make a list or if I write it down, it makes me more accountable to her, and then I'm not disappointing her, and we have a better relationship.
It all plays out
Trickle
just like
down.
yes. Okay. So honor your word and then always do your best. So all four of these things, especially that first one, that don't take things personally during this holiday season. If you can master that, yes. Okay. Moving on. Any questions so far? Speaking of cute kids. All right, so let's talk about the foundation of a fun, fulfilled holiday. What are your values? Have you talked about like what your values are? This is something that we did last year, and I've done for myself again, like, when Steve and I were in this place of not being connected at all, and he was kind of in his own place, and I kept trying to get him to do things. I finally said, I've got plenty of work to do myself. I really do. So I had to stop. I had to break that. There's a little codependency there, just a teens. Tiny. I'm not responsible for Steve. I'm not responsible for his feelings, and he's not responsible for mine. So I had to build that foundation for myself. So getting values for each person in the relationship, and then having couples values can be a fun journey together to figure out what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say no to. And I cannot remember who said it, but someone said, if you don't have values, then you value chaos or you value happenstance.
Randomness.
Yeah. So ours are gratitude, health, and experiences.
Integrity.
And integrity.
I have mine on my phone because they're that important, and I forget stuff, but I actually have them on my phone so I can refer back to them when I'm making decisions about whatever I'm doing in life that is maybe a big decision. I need to look at my own family values on top of my own. Like what do we value as a couple? So it's important. I kind of laughed at it at first, to be honest, but now that I have it and we've agreed to it, it's not funny anymore. It's actually really helpful and really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And I usually get that right before it's like, Christmas Eve or few days before Christmas. I'll get this ping of like, I'm not getting enough stuff. We don't have enough under the tree. I'm not wrapping enough things. And I did that last year. And then I went, oh, wait, we said experiences. That's what's important to us. So we bought tickets to the Braves game. And we also did one of those indoor water parks for my younger kid.
Rock climbing gym for the youngest. Experiences, not boxed items.
Yes. And we did that with our 10-year-old for his birthday. He wanted one of the Oculus virtual reality glasses. And we were like, it just isn't in our values. We just couldn't pull the trigger to do that. And so we were like, mountain bike. So we got him a mountain bike, and we've gone as a family more. So those are just a few, ideas of how you can use those. But if you see some words, just post them in the chat. Like, what are some things that you immediately are drawn to and are of value to you or you and your partner? Put those in there and then write them down somewhere. When I first started doing this by myself, I put the values on my bathroom mirror. It was like flow, family, and fun. Those were my first three, and I still remember it. That was 2019, right after that disastrous Christmas. And it just helped me. I was trying to find the flow in things because I felt like I was fighting for a lot, like trying to push and like just do too much. So I was trying to find flow. So adventure, balance, compassion, honesty, loyalty, all
Great.
good stuff.
Adventure, humor,
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So this is great. And if you're someone that has a lot of invitations to events and, you know, activities that you've maybe typically been a part of, but you leave not feeling fulfilled, I always think about how I have some friends that are drains and then some friends that are faucets. And oh, somebody else is coming in. And there's just, I notice how I feel when I leave certain groups. And, you know, I've been a part of like book clubs and tried to get out there because socializing is so important. But sometimes you just don't vibe with a group, and that's okay. You know, so let's see, we have a new friend on here. There's Tyler and Jess and Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So any questions about values? And we just wrote down, I think we wrote down like 10 and then just crossed out and tried to get like, oh, how many is too many to try and to prioritize? So yeah, we started with like 10 and then whittled it down to 5. And I think we each have our own 3.
I think it's important to say too that when we established ours, we did it on a weekend together where we were intentionally working on like planning the year, so to speak, but also planning our life. So we didn't have kids interrupting us. We didn't have the day, you know, the dogs, all this stuff. We were actually in Nashville at an Airbnb, and we sat down and we created like a long list of values, and then we narrowed them down to what we have now. So it's really good to set intention on that, not just do it at the kitchen table when the chaos of life is going on around you. It's plan a weekend around it or plan a day. It's that important, and then you're on the same page and you're not tripped up by, you know, the TV being on and stuff like that.
If you're by yourself doing this work and you're like setting the tone for yourself, again, I applaud you. Good job. If you just kind of truck along and do what feels good for you. So maybe putting it on the mirror. I don't know we've never had the conversation of what you noticed when I was doing these things. He's talked about like how I was doing these annoying things.
I don't know if they were annoying. I just was like, well, like, I'm glad that you're trying different things.
You're like, okay, good luck. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a whole other group meeting is our 2-3 year battle of trying to, you know, make our lives better.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say 3 to 5 is good.
Yeah.
All right. So setting expectations. And this quote by Julie Piatt, I don't know if you all have heard of Rich Roll, but Julie Piatt's like the super spiritual mentor that I love her thoughts and how she talks about things. But she had a conversation about the holidays and she said, you have to take care of yourself so you don't get your button pushed by the people that installed them. That hits home, doesn't it? Like the people that installed them being your family. So first things first, what do you need? And this may be a little journal session for yourself. It may be taking a couple days to think on it and then coming back on Sunday. Actually, Steve and I meet every Sunday. We have like a little relationship check-in. So all of these things that we're talking about now, I know you're closing out the week, but go ahead and plan time on Sunday for yourself and or your partner to sit down and like kind of think about the things that you processed from this. And if you have any questions, of course, we're here to help. So what do you need and what do you want out of the season? You know, what are your values? What do you need? Like I didn't realize the other day that I really wanted to go to a pumpkin patch. And some of you may have seen the
One of us is.
that I had. Hold on just a second.
We will be on time.
Let's see who we can, I think they're good. Okay, thank you. So a couple weekends ago, I wanted to go to the pumpkin patch, but nobody in the family wanted to go. And I didn't set an expectation ahead of time. It was just something all of a sudden that hit me. I wanted to get outside. I wanted to go for a hike or do something, but I couldn't expect the family to all of a sudden be like, yeah, mom, we want to go. Let's go. Steve wasn't feeling very good. My 10-year-old, I was like, dude, let's go to the pumpkin patch. Let's go to the corn maze and we'll get pumpkins. And he like was sitting on the TV or sitting on the couch watching TV or something. He was like, we can just go to the store and buy one. And I was just like, what in the world? I wanted to do all those fun things. And so I just packed up my mountain bike and I went by myself. I went for a hike by myself and it was so nice. It was so nice. So I've realized I cannot spring these like, oh, let's go do this at the last minute to them and expect them to be like, heck yeah, let's go. So what do you need? What are the things that are important to you? Do you need a certain amount of sleep per night? Do you need 8 hours of sleep? Do you need your time alone? What are some things that you need?
Well, I'm somewhat of an introvert, so with family, I try to give what I can to the family, and then I regress and go on a run or go to the store. You always need something, right? In the kitchen, go to the store, grab it, just get out of the house for a while. That always helps me. It's like a reset button.
Going for a walk?
Yeah.
We've got dogs we have to walk. That would be good.
Yeah.
And then what do you want out of the season? And then what do you need as a couple? Date time. This can be such a beautiful season to reflect and spend time together, as long as you're not super stressed and you're rolling in for a dinner date and you're like, oh my gosh, hair's on fire. But if you maybe just go look at Christmas lights, go drive around and talk about the Christmas lights, or we just booked a cabin for our annual getaway it's like our birthday / plan for next year celebration. There's also great deals on hotels, where you can go and maybe you can't spend the night, but we've gotten a hotel one night and we went and hung out and got Uber Eats and then just sat there and hung out and had a babysitter here. She couldn't spend the night and our kids weren't going to be comfortable with that at the time anyway. And so I came back and Steve got to stay at the hotel. So just planning some times like that where maybe you're, just getting away from the crowd. And then where will you need support? Who are the people that are the drains? Like who are the people that maybe have a little abrasiveness, or for some reason you have this pattern that you've had with this person that you've had a hard time breaking? So who are those people so that you can kind of give your partner a heads up, like, around my aunt, I can't say,
So
like my actual aunt is coming to mind, like, stop,
yeah.
I can't say it out loud. But there's people that you just get along with, and some people that you just need to kind of spend some time away from. And you don't have to spend time with the family like you used to, like we were saying before. It doesn't have to look like it's always looked. And as long as you're aware of some of those patterns that keep coming up, it's kind of like a red flag for you to spend some time picking through, like, why is it with that relationship that I have such a charge? And also knowing that, not taking it personally, that person is doing the best that they can with what they have. And for whatever reason, they've learned to behave that way, and you don't have to spend very much time with them. Okay. Anything else?
No, you covered it. That was good.
Okay. Whoops. Wrong side. All right. So what do you want to do for the holidays? I just talked about the pumpkin patch, and I actually haven't done my list yet. I'm really excited to do this for myself. Like, I know I want to go see some sort of a singing, like your mom is now in town. So I'd love to take your mom to go hear some music because she loves that. And that would be connecting with her. Are there things that you have always done that you're hell bent on, that you're like, no, we have to do this. This is just something that we do. And your partner's not really that excited about it? give them a pass on some things. If you come up with like 3 things that you want to do together and you plan ahead, and then maybe you do 1 or 2 things by yourself, 1 or 2 things as a family, whatever that looks like. But is it Black Friday shopping? I know some people are hardcore about that. I am not. I remember the first Thanksgiving I spent with Steve. My sister was there too, and we came downstairs and we were like, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And his whole family was like, what is this? What, you're watching this parade? And we were like, yeah. We just always have it on the background. And then they watch football,
we're
and that was
football fan.
not something that our family did. So, even down to the conversation of like, where's the football game? Where are we going to watch the football game? Is it away from everybody else so that we can, those that need the quiet and want the conversation are working on our puzzle, whatever. What does that look like? And then volunteering. There's so many volunteer options that you can do in your area. I've been looking into a couple different places here in Knoxville, Tennessee, that need volunteers. They need, help with food and toilet paper, things like that. So
Community kitchen.
yeah. So what are the things that you all love to do? Oh, Jesse's against me eating cookie dough, but you can't bake cookies and not eat cookie dough.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that's a definite. That's like a truth right there. That's too funny. Anna's taking our son to hockey, had to walk around. That's okay. And then I think, any other questions? What are like some must do's that you all have in your family? That when you think Christmas or Thanksgiving, this is just what we do.
Christmas tree.
Permit. Oh, you go and you cut down a Christmas tree. Yes, I heard a couple talking about that recently. And the one couple was like, we go cut down our Christmas tree and we bring it home. And oh gosh, who was that? And as they did this, they're like shoving the Christmas tree in the house, and there's like stuff everywhere. And she was just like, this is not my value. This is not important to her. So she really had to stretch that. So that is a big deal.
Build Legos with the kids. Yes, I'm on board with that.
While the fella cooks. Super chill.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Okay. Fantastic. So any other things? There's like train rides here that are like the Polar Express train rides. Are there certain movies that you want to watch? Some people love the Hallmark movies. Some people do not want anything to do with them. Christmas Eve chili. Ooh, we do that too. Christmas vacation is a tradition. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Talk about that. And even just the process of talking about those things will get you excited too. Mm-hmm. I'm getting excited. Are you excited?
I'm always excited.
All right. So let's move on to the next slide. Favorite movies while you were sleeping. Oh yeah. Christmas Story, The Family Stone. Okay. So let's talk about travel arrangements. So if you are traveling and you have kids, what all do you need? And who needs to help get the packing done? I have like a handful of friends from college, and they all had this conversation about, oh gosh, I guess it's that time. We have to pack everything up and then get all the food ready. And I was like, do you though? Do you have to do that? And it was taking away from, the energy that they had to enjoy the holiday experience. And I was bragging on Steve because he's like master packer. He like helps with all the packing, and, we just kind of have a quick overview of who's going to pack what kids stuff. And then a couple of years ago, we drove to Florida. Well, there's been a few times where we've done this with the mystery bags. Mm-hmm. My mom came up with this great idea. Genius. So if you are on the road or in the air, you can create these mystery bags that have different things in them. So different treats. You can get Mad Libs. You can get like fidgets and little games, and put them in brown paper bags and just roll them up and staple them and put on there what mile the kid can open them up. I mean, we could do this for adults too. That would be fun too. You could do it for yourself.
Yep.
Play, get all the play in there. So coloring books, things like that. And for each stop or for each whatever, it was like 100 miles, 200 miles. And we did that for Arkansas too.
Yeah.
They can open up whatever's in the bag. And that way they're like, what is it? What's in the next bag? You know, they're like, how much further? And then we look at the map and we talk about where we're at. And it just is more engaging than having them totally zone out on their phones.
Yeah.
So go to the dollar store, go to the dollar section in Target and get some fun things. What are some other things you think of for travel arrangements?
I think, well, the sleeping arrangements, I think, is something we just started kind of really being serious about because sleep is so important. Um, we've had family get-togethers where we've had a kid on the floor in our bedroom, and that can be chaotic too, because especially when, you know, the night before Christmas when they're waiting on Santa and they're not sleeping, and then you're not sleeping. So it's always good to like make sure you've got, you know, kind of an idea where everyone's going to sleep wherever you're going, because I think that's a really important piece.
And if it's not okay, there was one Christmas where the arrangements weren't going to be great for us at the time. So we got a hotel, and the family was like, why are you getting a hotel? It was just like, we really need our sleep. So if that's the case, there's Airbnbs, you know, there's a lot of different things that you can do for sleep, and just let your family know, I love you and I want to be as present as possible. I want to be as present during the presents. And also, yeah, my gift to you will be my presence. And I won't be lacking in the sleep department. Okay, so sleeping arrangements. There was something else. Is there anything that you all have to add? I mean, some of you had some great superpowers that you shared in the Google form. I was going to share some of these. Like there's a couple that's living in an RV full time, and they have for 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they said it adds stress, but they have to adapt to it, and it's made them stronger. Some of you have upfront communication and lots of fun, laughter, consistent date nights, finding fun in everything that you're doing, great at finances. Again, the finances too, with the travel arrangements and with the presents. Like if it doesn't support your values, then you can kind of feel into that. You don't have to make a decision right away, but you can feel like your body will tell you. You can say like should we get this item or should we go on this trip? And your body typically will tell you. It's crazy the intuition that it has. If you stand up and ask it a question, sometimes it will lean forward, sometimes it will lean back. That's a whole nother conversation too. Who else is RV life? I think it is. I'll have to get their name for you. But yeah, Brittany, you all could share notes on that. All right, so this one may be a little more longer than some of the others because this is going to cover a lot of the communication, probably some of the stuff that you're like, yeah, let's get to the communication part because this can be the glue to your relationship. I mean, the intention that you're setting right now, so good. Knowing that you're in a partnership, you're together, you want the best for each other, right? Both of you want the best for the other person in the end. You want to be on the other side of this holiday season and feeling good, feeling maybe even more connected than you did before the holiday started because you worked through this together and you laid this foundation and you learned to move through these challenges and use them as a guide to how you can get through them and feel a little more confident and feel like you have a good relationship that's been challenged because it's not supposed to be happy all the time. You ready to dig into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You want to share about stop trying to manage others' emotions?
Yeah, so I have a family member that I'm really close to who they're kind of like a kid on Christmas and they're, you know, quite a bit older than me. and they have big expectations on how Christmas and Thanksgiving go down every year. Who's going to be in town? where we're going to eat, all the different events and all that. And I spent many a year married to this one, trying to manage this person in my family. And it cost it just spent a lot of energy for me and for Shannon. And it was pretty rough. It made our relationship pretty rough. And kind of fast forward to now that I've done a lot of work on myself and working on this kind of the things we're talking about. Now I don't try to manage that person's emotions. I go into it with an open mind. I'm relaxed, and it makes for a much better holiday. This person can have a crappy Christmas or a great Christmas. That's not up to me. That's up to them. They're in charge of their own emotions. So if you have someone in your family like that that you feel very close to, and you feel this need to manage your emotions, just try to step back and just ask yourself a question: Is this best? Is this for me or for him? Am I giving my wife and my kids or my partner the best support that they can get during the holiday? Because that's your family and your partner, and you are the most valuable of the dynamic there. So if you're letting someone in your family control you to where you're like trying to manage their emotions, it's like you're not going to have any fun. So that first one is a big thing for me because it really caused a lot of problems in our relationship. And now I still have little pings every now and then, but I just step back and think about it.
And I
I'm usually
notice
pretty
it.
good.
I'll be like, "Ooh, I noticed that you seem a little like frazzled. Do you need it? Can you need anything?" And I'm not like, "What's wrong?" or "What happened?" I'm just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we have this like communication now that we know when the other person needs to step in, and this can be for parenting or,
Yeah.
holidays. But that kind of goes back to that conversation of knowing who can add a little charge to your energy sometimes. Because when we first started dating and I experienced that during the holidays, I was like, what's going on? Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Because all of a sudden it was a different energy, and it was like a wanting to make everybody happy.
I was in protector mode. I think I was trying to protect my family, and I don't know. It was a wild dynamic, but it's interesting to look back now and see where I was versus where I am. So
Mhm. Yeah, and I know some people mentioned that they have let's talk about some of the things that are a challenge for some people that they wanted. Well, I also wanted to mention too when some people said they had superpowers. Some of you said there were two people that said almost the identical thing. They said things are not good, nothing to share right now, but have hope for the future. So sending love to you all. They're not good, but you're still here.
yeah,
That really is a big deal. And there are resources. So once this is over, if it may not be you, but you may have like friends in your life that you're like, ooh, they need some resources. I've got books, I do coaching, I've got therapy people, therapists that I can refer you to, but it doesn't have to stay not good. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
yeah.
So yeah, you're
Good
not
job.
alone.
Yeah, good job being here. That's important.
Okay, so the other thing was we had questions on two people had some major, major, like very sad, hard things that they're dealing with that have been brought up in the past year. So one is I'm not going to go into the details, but two very, very hard emotional things that are going on in these people's lives. And having to be around family, being very, very intentional with how long you're going to be with family and giving them a heads up, with like painting the picture for your family ahead of time so they know what to expect, and that you have that expectation that you're going to be able to dismiss yourself or excuse yourself or say goodbye, giving yourself that space like Steve was saying, going to the grocery store. But with these major heavy things that are going on in these families, it may be just setting up a time ahead of time. Like, this is the time that we have, and we've got some other obligations, or, we've got to go see this family, or you don't even have to say why. You don't have to over explain yourself. That is a trauma response of being like, well, we have to, like over explaining, you don't have to do it. I've learned that. I still do it sometimes, but yeah, feeling into like what is going to be a good time with your family so that you're together, but you're not taken to a place that doesn't feel good and that just sends you into the spiral of whatever that could be, showing up as anxiety or depression or things like that. Um, oh, Brittany said there's sometimes a struggle between sleeping arrangements and finances. Yeah. Yeah. So you definitely have to look at like what you have available and what you can do as far as your budget goes. And I hate to use the word budget because budget and finances, we're healing our relationship with finances as well. But a budget sometimes can feel like limiting. And for me, it sent me into this like, we've got to save money. We can't spend the money. And that was taking away from my ability to be fully present, have fun. So, energetically presenting yourself as like what is it that you want to do, where is your money best spent without feeling like the constriction of being like we have to save money or we can't do this. Figure out a way. Usually there's some ways that you can figure things out. Maybe if you're traveling and looking at Airbnb, there are a lot of opportunities, or if you have friends in that area, you could even house sit for them, reach out to them and see if you can house sit or just spend less time there. Okay, so the heavy emotions, we talked about that. Setting expectations with your family members up front. Boundaries, that's basically what that is. Boundaries are the ability to love your family member and yourself at the same time. So being able to say, this is what we expect, and this is how I'm taking care of myself. And the more you do it, the easier it will be. And it just adds so much value to your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's helped. Sure.
Yeah. And you're teaching them how to treat you and how to treat your family. And you may notice that once you start setting boundaries, they will as well. And it just helps everyone learn how to operate in this world together. It's so great when you communicate. It's so great when you communicate. Okay. All right. So we also had navigating family politics. I've got a funny slide about that here in a minute. Religious, spiritual differences. I think a lot of these questions kind of come down to those values, understanding what's important to you. And the religious / spiritual differences, you can really talk about what part of like is it midnight mass that's super important to you, and being supportive even though you may not believe in that, but still being supportive and even checking in to see if your partner wants you to join whatever tradition you have. Okay, let's talk about finding us time. You want to?
Sure.
Like, let's look at the relationship check-in. If you look at the relationship check-in on the bottom, this is something that we have been doing probably for like 3 years, but Steve didn't realize he was doing it with me for about a year.
I was duped.
And here he is doing a couples call with me.
Yep.
Yeah. So the relationship check-in is basically a weekly check-in of what's going on for the week. Some people do that, some people don't, but to the extent of what we do is pretty detailed. And we didn't do all the details up front, but the relationship check-in looks at what's the weather look like this week. Just knowing if it's going to rain, or if it's going to rain during the holidays, when you thought you were going to go ice skating and then the rain that inevitably like rains or snows and your plans change. And this can happen, you can do this throughout your entire marriage. Like every week we do this, not just for the holidays. And we also check on my weather. So understanding the menstrual cycle of your partner can be invaluable. And I have a podcast episode that breaks down what the menstrual cycle is like, so that you understand what your energy is like during each part of your cycle. It's just like the seasons. We have a spring, we have a summer, that's when we're ovulating. And that's when our energy is high. So that will be fantastic. If it's like energy is high, things are good. Then you have the luteal phase, which is what we know as PMS, which is where it gets a bad reputation, but I actually have learned to enjoy it because it's a time of like kind of turning inward. My boundaries announce themselves much louder. So I'll give him a heads up because sometimes I can be abrasive during that time. Like, whoa, okay, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's the luteal phase. It's fall. It's fall time in Shannontown.
Yeah.
So when I shared that with him on Sunday or ahead of time, he knows what to expect and that I may not be in the mood for some, sexy time. And we plan our sexy time too, because we found it's way sexier to actually do it than to just wait on those spontaneous moments where you just have that urge.
Yeah, because spontaneity could be 3 weeks from now. You just don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, so planning it is really important for us.
Yeah, yeah. And it looks different for everybody, but for us, we usually plan one or two times. And sometimes it turns out where we're just exhausted or not in the mood. And we're like laying, like one time we were laying there and I was like, can we just hang out? And you were like, yeah. And then inevitably, because we connected and we talked, it was like brown chicken, brown cow. And then, there's things that you can plan when you know the kids are going to be gone. If they're going to be with family, or if they're not going to be gone, you can put on a movie or try to, you know, get a sitter and whatever. Not get a sitter and then go upstairs and get it on.
That would be
I
weird.
mean, whatever it takes, it really is important. And it's like such an important part of your relationship to be able to have that connection. Um, what else about sexy time?
Just the whole menstruation, that what you talked about, that
Yeah.
when I learned about all that, the different phases, and guys, we were brought up to, it just is such a black and white thing, and it's not. There's so many gray areas, and it's a game changer. I'm still learning about it. Like, I'm not an expert by any means, but when she tells me what phase she's in, I'm like, okay, I know what to expect. And knowing that life happens, things might create some influxes, but for the most part, it's like reading them. It's like clockwork. It really is,
Mm.
and it's pretty amazing. And I kind of know what to expect every quarter of the month, I guess. So
Yeah, I will send out the podcast to your emails that you provided, and someone direct message me, so I can do that. I'll send that to you all. It is super helpful. And if you're on birth control, so the pill really mutes it. Like it really mutes your ability to kind of tap into your menstrual cycle and understand your energies because it messes with the hormones. But the IUD is not as intense as the pill. But if you are off the pill, if that's something that you're interested in, I've got a ton of resources on that. And I like to use the words menstrual cycle awareness. When you think of it as awareness and less of like tracking sounds like one more thing you have to do, right? And there are apps that you can track. I'm not super religious about it, but the more like I use Clue and you can add your partner onto it. I think I added you, but we talk about it every week. So you really don't need to know.
right.
But Clue is wonderful because the more you put in that information, the more it predicts when you're going to, when you're going to be on your bleed week and that type of thing. Like when we just booked our little getaway, I checked my Clue app. I was like, it's not going to be Shark Week for our little getaway.
All
All
right.
right. Okay. So we have a different cycle of energy that definitely plays into how you can show up during the holidays. And that 2019 Christmas time that we had, it was a little challenging. And I looked back, and of course, it was during that luteal phase right before my period. And had I known, I would be a lot, you know, more aware of all of that. And then also, if you were going into like late 30s, early 40s, and you are still on a period, you still have a period, that is like the best way to head into perimenopause and menopause, to have an awareness of what your body is doing. And I've got a lot of information on that as well, because perimenopause is a thing. Okay. How are y'all doing?
losing anybody.
Good. Good information. Good. Nicole gave us.
All right.
Okay. All right. Typically, we're used to engaging. So if you have a question or if you want to share anything, feel free. But oh, you're amazing too, Jennifer.
Yeah, likewise.
You need to come by good fortune when we're down there. All right. So let's talk about your love language. So, love language, you can't get through any article about marriage without hearing do you know your love language? You know, love languages are important, especially during the holidays. So last year during Thanksgiving, Steve was so sweet. He would like walk by, give me a little extra hug, and he just knew that my love language is touch, and he'd thank you. And I know his is acts of service or quality or you're amazing. Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
So there's words of affirmation, quality time, touch, gifts, and something else. Type it in the chat. But I'll send a link that you can test your love language to see what it is. And then we also have with our couples group, which there's 2 of the couples here, Anna and Paul and Travis and Cassie. We have a couple that leads the group, and they had a great idea called the snooze and snuggle. Oh, this is so cute, where they press snooze and then they snuggle because one of them is touch and the other person is words of affirmation. So one person gets snuggling and the other gets words of affirmation.
Whisper in the ear.
Whisper in the ear, yeah. All right, so those you can do the snooze and snuggle. Okay, so understanding your love language so that you're filling up your partner with love. Also, thank you. Oh, so good. And then also, when you have some challenges, there are a few things that have helped us that are quick go-tos that may or may not work for you, but they've done amazing for us. So the first is I notice, I feel, I need. And that's from a book called Nonviolent Communication, which is a funny title, serious subject. And it talks about ways that you can clearly communicate what you need without engaging in the patterns of behavior and communication that you've typically engaged in. So when something is off, I can say, hey, when you said that thing, I noticed that I'm not always good like coming up with
It's true. It takes practice.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know. I just will say, I noticed that you seem tense.
Yes.
Or I noticed that you seem frustrated.
It's so much better than why are you so tense? Because I may not be tense. A lot of times I'm just in my head, nothing's wrong. And then the assumption piece pops up. So when she says I noticed something, typically my response will be, oh no, I'm just an idiot and I'm thinking about the thing that I just did or whatever. Well, yeah, it's like, it's really probably nothing. So
I notice. So another thing that we've used this with was parenting.
mm-hmm.
When you were talking to our son, I noticed that you kind of had an abrasive approach, or I noticed that you talked about this, or I feel like there might be a better approach and I need to just share, or can I share with you are you open to some ideas of what that can look like? And as I'm saying that, that's literally like for the first 3 months that we started using these new tools of communication. I remember like us like doing laps around the island in our kitchen of just like being like, I notice. And then being a long pause because we're both trying not to go back into that like easy go-to of just not talking about it, shoving our feelings down,
mm-hmm.
or going into the things that we used to say, that were not helpful, sometimes hurtful. So I notice, I feel, I need. The other thing is the story in my head. So one time I came downstairs and I said, I noticed that Steve was tense. He seemed frustrated. And my old go-to is fix it, do all the things for him so that he's happy and not frustrated. And that didn't work. So I just said, hey, the story in my head right now is that you're annoyed that I didn't do the dishes, and then you woke up and now you have to do the dishes. And I noticed you seemed kind of frustrated. And he like looked at me and he was like, "What? Oh no, I just got an email from work and they need me to do this project and I'm already like I've already got so much on my plate." So being able to clear the air instead of assume can be so helpful. So the story in my head, when you, I notice, I feel, I need, and then left eye to left eye, as silly as this sounds, it helps you focus with the other person, and it sends you can just send love to that
Mhm.
person. You can send compassion to that person. And if you eye gaze long enough with someone, Sally and I had a moment. Oh my gosh, Sally. Sally was sending me love, and we both just, I felt like tingles all over my body. I started crying. This was at a retreat, but we did an eye gazing exercise, and it's because it's over your heart space, and because some people say you can see other people's souls if you stare long enough. Left eye to left eye, it's compassionate, it's heartfelt, and it's funny. I mean, we've had some really good laughs about it
Yeah,
where
we goof off with it.
where if he's like stressed out, if we're around family and they're annoying or the kids are annoying, we'll be like, we'll just kind of pretend like left eye to left eye, and then we'll breathe.
Yeah.
Every time that you breathe, you're giving yourself some more space and some more fuel for your patience, right? Like the more you breathe in and take that time for yourself, and that might be something that you need too, is to have some space every single morning, 15 minutes of just a little self-care time where you
Well, I got into meditating. I'd get up in the morning to make the kids lunch, and I would carve out 10 minutes. I had the Calm app, and this is not a plug for Calm. They're not paying me for this. It's just the app that worked for me. There's Headspace and others, but Calm is great because it's guided. Now, to start out meditating was tricky for me because I'm already in my head anyway, and have the self-guided meditation was big. So that's a big one. You do the same. You do breathing.
Yeah, I
Some
have like
yoga.
5 things that I kind of rotate through. I'll read something that's inspiring or for just like 10 minutes, and I light, this is the Palo Santo. I light this in the morning, and it's got like, I don't know, it just smells really good, and it's very, I've heard it's cleansing, and
Mm.
it immediately is like a go-to for my body to relax, and it's used to that process now. So I'll roll out my yoga mat and stretch. There's a list of things that I give my coaching clients. If I have a self-care slips where they can cut them out and pull from a box if they want, or they can just look at the list and do something that is on there. So a lot of those different things. Okay, so we talked about communication. The second thing that people wanted to know about was, hi, I'm glad I saw 'em. Yeah, and if there's little ears around, I'm gonna start talking about
Procreation.
sex. Okay.
Can I back up on something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So the when you, I notice, I feel, I need. Shannon used 2 examples to where I was like, she was completely wrong. But the times that she has said that to me, and she was exactly 100% on with her intuition about what she's noticing about me, it was pretty amazing how it gave me this space to be more honest with her about, yeah, if she didn't do the dishes or whatever it was that was bothering me, I could be like, well, yeah, that is how I'm feeling, and I appreciate you bringing it up. I felt less defensive, like I wasn't getting the finger in my chest, accusation kind of thing. It was more about just giving me the space to be honest and open with her instead of shoving it down, like was usually my go-to. So it does work. Whether you're completely off base or you're 100% right. For me, it worked really well. It took some getting used to, of course, um, but it's really been beneficial for me. So
And there was one time, I still haven't totally figured this out, where I said, I notice you do this, and the undertone was not very good. It was in a place, it was from a place of my ego wanting to call him out on something. Still haven't figured it out. But he was like, I'm not like, we had like a conversation about it. So it takes a minute. And sometimes you may have to press pause and do some deep breathing. And of course, all of this right here is for um, trying, like, almost trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I know some of you are in like a, a deeper level of frustration right now. And there are resources again. So some of these things, if you're like, there's no way that this is going to happen right now. I was in that space too. I didn't know, for those of you that don't know our story, right after that 2019 Christmas mishap, it was March of 2020, and we kind of had or no, it was March of 2021 where we said, are we going to keep doing this? We contemplated separating so that we could figure stuff out. Like, he was not in a good place, and I loved him. I wanted the best for him. I wanted to be co-parenting with him, but I had to have a healthy partner. And I've been working on myself. I was unhealthy for a long time, and I'm so grateful that I was exposed to the things that I was, and he was on his own journey. So while it wasn't at the same time, it still came to a place where I had to say, this isn't working and I love you. This is not your fault, but you can be better. Do you want me to help you, or do you want to do this by yourself? And he was just like, what do I do? And I said, I would try meditating, but I'm not your healer. You are, this is your thing. So off he went.
Yeah.
And
But
so grateful.
to have the gift of not an ultimatum, but basically, like, I hope you come back and choose me is basically how it came down. And I did. It was, our relationship was too important, or parenting our children together was too important. And she's just cool as shit. Like, I genuinely loved her. I just had a lot of stuff going on from my past. But anyway, so it's a two-way. It takes two for sure. And
Yeah.
we're fortunate. Good job.
Yeah. Good job. There's still things that come up.
Oh yeah.
It's
not perfect,
hard.
but we have the
Okay.
tools to work through things together now.
Speaking of tools, let's talk
Yes.
about sex.
You're on to the next one.
Well, I think this is a part of this one, the relationship
okay.
check-in. I was going to dig in on that a little bit more. Oh wait, yeah.
other-
Oh yeah, this is kind of a part of that too. Let me touch on this.
We're all
This
over
is
the place.
more foreplay for you before we talk about the sex. Okay, so just the idea of otherness, the fact that you have a partner, being single, there's its own challenges, but when you invite a partner to join forces with you and have a partnership and have a marriage, you are inviting the thorn that you can grow from. So the thorn meaning when things do feel, like, why is this coming up for me? That is a sign that you can grow from that experience. And creating your own political system for your partnership, as opposed to looking to your family and how they've operated in the past. We learned a lot about family systems last night, didn't we? There's two other couples on a call with us that was pretty powerful, and talking about our ancestors and the things that we carry into other generations that are no longer serving us. So I love those two sweatshirts though, vaccinated and ready to talk politics at Thanksgiving, or unvaccinated and ready to talk politics.
Yeah.
Because there's both, and there's like,
yeah. Here we are.
Okay, so let's talk about sexy time. So book a getaway. I think after you're done with all this, you book a getaway and have a fun sexcapade weekend. Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If you can.
Let's do it.
If not, like, the little sexcapades that you have in between can be fun. They can be anything. And a lot of people just don't realize the access to all kinds of different pleasure. So if you're in a place where you are like, I know there's more, but I don't know what there is. I do 12-week courses with the majority women. I also work with couples, and I've actually had a couple men reach out recently too. But it looks the same for everyone, reconnecting to your body, understanding how your body works, and being able to communicate your needs and your desires.
Mhm.
So having a little space to figure out what those desires are every week in a very safe place with someone that you trust. It may start with yourself. There are a lot of people that have had sexual abuse in their past, and that can be super challenging. So getting the support system and the therapy or awareness that you need for that, because that's is in your body and can show up during times of intimacy with your partner. So it can show up by like being in the moment and all of a sudden your partner's just not there. You're like, what, are you there? What's going on? Like they're there physically, but they're not there mentally. So creating like a safe space. We have our friends that say they have their nest, that they create like a little nest. He turns on the heat. He gets like, make sure that she has plenty of time to feel comfortable and safe and held, instead of just doing the go to Pound Town right away kind of situation, which is what most of us saw in movies and pornography. And those are all typically not, they're like false narratives of what sex is supposed to be like for us. So for time that you set aside, you can have different focus. Like you can have a little sexploration time where you maybe have like a blindfold and you have a couple of toys that you want to play with. You can look at your erotic blueprints, which shows you basically your love language in bed. That alone is super telling. And that's something that I work with clients with, is helping them understand their blueprint and how that shows up and how you can communicate your needs to your partner. What else? You can have maintenance sex where it's just we just need this time to connect. Let's go. We got 5 minutes,
Yep.
10 minutes, hopefully.
Yeah.
But a couple of things that you want to remember, for those of you that are vulva owners, it takes about 14 to 20 minutes to feel physically ready to go. So even if you are having like a little maintenance sex, being able to have that scheduled can be helpful sometimes, because sometimes if we're caught off guard, our brain is like, all right, yeah, I'm in, let's do this. But your body's like, okay, wait, hold on.
What are we doing?
I need lubrication. I need the clitoris to be engorged with blood. There's this thing called vaginal tenting where the walls of the vagina expand as if to say, like, come on in. And if it doesn't happen, it can be kind of painful at first. So making sure that you have plenty of time of like massage and touch. And some people like to kiss, but some people don't. I did a little poll in my group. If you're not in my Facebook group, let me know. I can put you in there. But we did a poll, and there's a lot of people that just don't like to kiss. Some people are like, I gotta kiss. So what do you need to feel ready to go? And part of the planning for me is knowing that like Steve he'll light this, and he's like got the Palo Santo going because he knows it's relaxing. We have these little candles. I don't have any in here, but setting your own little sacred space in your room. Like we got these candles that have a remote control that you can just turn on.
They're electric candles, not flame candles.
Yeah, they're electric candles. So you can turn that on. You can put on some music, have a playlist. If you look at Spotify, they've got all kinds of playlists.
They do.
There's one really good one, but sometimes I'm like, okay, that's not good. That's like 70s porn music.
Yeah.
So thinking about like all the senses to set the scene and set the stage for those experiences. Like when you play to the senses, you have sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. When you play to those senses in every experience that you have, it can change the typical go-to that you may have for sex. So if you're like, let's try feather, or ooh, let's get a little wooden spoon and see how that feels for like a little impact play on the butt, things like that. Or just the blindfold. If you put a blindfold on, your partner will have the space to kind of fumble around without worrying what you are like, what you're looking at or what you're doing.
Yeah, it takes a sense away.
yeah, it takes the sense away, so it heightens things. But also you can do you can do things that you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm just trying it.
Guilty.
He told me afterwards that was so funny. It's like I didn't know what I was doing, but I couldn't see anything, so it was fine.
Yeah.
So massage, touch, smells, taste, there's a lot of fun lubricants that you can get that have a fun taste to it or that heat up, temperature play. Get creative, and you can have sex exploration time. You can also have like a little sex ed time. We would spend some of our date days watching a video about something that we wanted to learn about. So we watched about
How to Build a Sex Room or whatever on
Oh,
Netflix.
yeah.
That was fascinating.
How to Build a Sex Room. That's so good. Netflix has Sex, Love, and Goop. Those are all fantastic things to watch and then just have a conversation about it. Actually, Sex, Love, and Goop has the erotic blueprints where she talks about that. It's a beautiful,
It's really well done.
this one couple, so sweet. He's like got this tear in his eye. It got me. So, okay, we are gonna round this up. I got you all like excited at the end, so you could go get busy if you want to. You're welcome. Yeah. So, but on another note, with the relationship check-in, when you're scheduling sex, for some people, he goes to bed at 9:30.
I'm an old man.
He's an old man. And I stay up until usually 11. That's just, we complement each other really well. So being able to have those times during the day where it's not sleepy sexcapade, and being able to like shave and plan my time and just mentally be there. I've had some resistance from people that think scheduling sex is not sexy, but I have a lot of people that have proven that it is.
Well, and we're fortunate too because we both. I'm still working remote from my job, and she's home, so we're both home every day. So that definitely is kind of a positive for us. But for those of you who are now going back to work at a job, maybe a little more challenging, but there's still ways, I think, to figure that out.
Definitely get those little remote candles. So fun. Okay, I know there's times where we're like, oh, he's gonna be home from school soon. Let's go. We got 15 minutes. Okay, so we have a collective. Well, before I talk about this, first of all, did you all have any questions about this? Anything?
Yeah, where do I
Any
get my
thoughts?
sweatshirts?
I know. Any thoughts, comments? Anything you want to share? I've got people that want to know about, talk about working through changing values. Ooh, yeah. Working through changing values. So Jennifer, do you mean having some values that are now shifting? Is that what you mean?
Okay. Howell's going to talk. It was his question.
Okay.
Yeah, just coming up with a list of values for each person and a list of values for the couple. People change. It's just a natural part of life. And so
Are you saying what if we don't have the same values?
no.
Oh.
I'm talking about how to work through. So once you develop an initial list, there's expectations set, but then people change. So then working through, working through resetting those expectations as your values are changing. Because I fully expect coming up with a list will change 2 months later because I'll understand the list better.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think I know for me, for a couple of years when I was doing this on my own, I would change them every year because I would have like kind of a reflection time as I was planning for my business, we would go out to dinner once a year and kind of plan out our thoughts for the year, but we didn't really execute them. And at the time, we didn't have very good communication about it. But I think that's a great point. When you feel like it's starting to shift, just sitting with it and during the relationship check-ins is a
Mhm.
great time. Do we do it every week? We at least have some type of a check-in. But there are times, I would say like once a month, where we have like long coffee talk and, at our kitchen table and really dig deep on some things that are maybe weighing heavy on us, or shifts in our, you know, in our value or whatever's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great concern. This is not boilerplate stuff. This is kind of ebbs and flows. I mean, I think everyone probably has pretty strong political beliefs, but I imagine over the course of the year, your beliefs maybe kind of, this way, that way a little bit. Same with your values, same with, kind of what's going on in the world affects us all. What's going on in a relationship, work, all that stuff. So your values may change. You may pick a word on that list that you're like, wait a minute, why did I pick that word? I've done that. My personal values change quite a bit, but the relationship values that we've established so far have been pretty dead on, and I think that's okay. I don't think it has to be set in stone for 5 years. So I think that's a great question. Just the communication piece, just meeting constantly and checking in, I think is how you get around that.
Yeah, and we also have this conversation with our kids. And while
Mhm.
they don't totally get it, we had usually when there's a change in season, because that can change like when we have Christmas break, we're going to talk about like what's important to you all. And I think I meant to talk about that too. Like, what do you all want to do? What are the things that you definitely want to do, things that you don't care to do? And then what are your values? Because that helps them guide their decisions too. Right now, our oldest, his are baseball and friends. Pretty typical, right? So when he's playing, he was like on YouTube watching something, and I was like, is this adding to your values? And he's like, yeah, he's doing like techniques on hitting, like he and does he have to do everything that's aligned with his values? No. But when he wanted to go paintball, he wanted to go paintballing with some kids. And because the price and everything, he was trying to save up for a new bat. And I didn't have to say no. I was like, well, how much is it? $60. Okay. Weren't you trying to save up for that bat? Yeah. And then he turned around and walked away. I was like, are you going to go? I guess not. Okay. Like he got to
Yeah.
figure that out on his own without me being like, no, you can't go, which I don't like saying no. Okay. So does that answer your question, Hal? That was a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was not something that was even on my radar. So thank you for helping us, because my answers are different than your all's. You guys seem to know more than me.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
it's experience.
It's experience. Yeah.
Sharing, and sharing is caring, right? Okay, so as we wrap this up, as you move into the holidays, I'm here for you. I know some of you already do coaching with, and I love being able to have that time to kind of break stuff down at a deeper level, because the way that you show up in your relationship has been however years old you are in the making. And luckily we can retrain our brain, we can retrain our conversation or communication style, we can have more intention with what we're doing. And to do that, it's so helpful to have other people that are doing that with you. And like we were sharing, we are in a couples group with some amazing couples from Colorado that are on here now. We've got Paul and Anna, Anna, and we have we also have Travis and Cassie from Steamboat who are on here too. And just having that group of people that are intentionally working on their relationships is so helpful, because you can bounce ideas off of each other. And Steve and I are going to share some of the things that we did in a couples collective next January. So if you're like, okay, this is scratching the surface, I really want intention for our relationship into 2023, and I want to build off of these things that we started, we're going to do 4 calls that are going to be decided when the group gets together. I'm guessing it will probably be about 6 couples and we'll have a bi-weekly like every other week for 4 weeks, because that will help build that consistency in getting the start going of your year. Usually that January, February time, there's not much going on. So it's a really good time to like dig in and set a foundation. And then you'll get a coaching call with me individually. And you also will get my sexually speaking school, which is basically like sex ed, the sex ed you wish you would have had. It's like anatomy, understanding like what is kink, what are the erotic blueprints, all of that kind of stuff. And then I am toying with having a couples retreat next year. So that's not set in stone, but if it does happen, when it does happen, you'll get $100 discount. So that's going to be $500 for that package to be a part of that couples collective. So if you have an interest in that, just shoot me a message. I'm all about putting it out there. And if you feel the pull to want to learn more, great. But I'm not going to hit you with like a hard sell of like, if you sign up tonight, like I'm just putting it out there, I'm here. And then I also do one-on-one couples coaching, and I do coaching for women as well, especially moving into this perimenopause space and understanding what your body's going through and this transition that you're going through and how you can just live your best life. So I think, are there any parting
Good job.
thoughts?
I can be somewhat of a valuable resource for anyone who has questions. Men, if you're curious, I'm not a certified expert like this one, but I have done the work. So I do have some insight on a few things if you're curious. So just reach out to Shannon and she can give you my information. I'd be glad to talk to you, even if it's just having a chat. So
Yeah.
I'm here.
We like couples that
Yeah.
we love love. We love couples that are trying to do their thing.
For real.
Yeah. And the couples that are the one of you, again, I'm like, keep going, hang in there. You got this. You got
For
this.
real.
Let's see if anybody else has anything. Did you all have any other questions? Investing in your relationship is worth every penny.
Yes.
Yes. I've spent a lot of money. Actually, we had that question the other night. I was at a retreat and we had those card games, and it was, what do you think what do you think I spend the most money on? And she looked at me and she said, probably training and personal growth. And I was like, oh, that is
Wow.
a really kind compliment. I will take it.
Yeah.
She was like, it's obviously not your hair. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. She didn't say that. All right. So good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll send out an email with kind of a rundown of all the things we talked about with the menstrual cycle awareness episode and all the other things, the erotic blueprint, the love languages. You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thanks, Tyler.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. So cute. Yay. Oh, thank you.
I hope I was of service.
Oh, you're amazing.
Oh, thanks. So are you. You're good at this. You should do it for a living.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is so good.